The trip hits an unexpected curve today. Plans change after another visit to an emergency room, but the kindness of a good friend really saves the day. We both woke up in the tent on the morning of day 62 from our respective deep sleeps. It was another sunny day on the top step of the grand staircase. Little did we know that this would be the last morning in a tent on this whole trip. We were packed up and on the road by 8:30. The original plan was to drive to Bicknell, Utah, where we had a motel reservation, but we had to go back the opposite direction to Cedar City first to take care of the Enterprise contract renewal, and then retrace our steps and go to Bicknell and get ready for several more national parks. So it was scheduled to be a frantic day, and it was, but not like we were expecting. The good thing about the out-of-the-way drive is that it goes through beautiful Dixie National Forest. But first we had to leave the Red Canyon area. Maceo took photos out the window with my iPhone, since hers was still broken, as the road wound through pure awesomeness. It was when we turned onto Utah Highway 14 that things got a bit dodgy. Maceo, feeling unwell again, leaned her seat back and fell into a fitful, labored sleep. The drive through Dixie National Forest, over steep grades, around tight curves, and through sparkling green and blue meadows was gorgeous. I drove carefully and stopped playing They Might Be Giants and started playing Simon and Garfunkel instead, to try to make the drive smooth and soothing for Maceo. I kept an eye on her while being impressed and distracted by the variety of scenery on this lonely little road. As we left the National Forest and hit Cedar City, I liked the town immediately. Very inviting and, as it would turn out, fortunately featuring all the amenities you might need in a sticky situation. We pulled up to Enterprise, but when Maceo couldn't stand up, I became alarmed and realized we needed urgent help again. Amazingly, a big hospital was located virtually next door. And so we pulled up to our second emergency room in 3 days, and they put Maceo in a bed and ran some tests and hooked her up to an IV. While she rested, I drove back to Enterprise. One of those weird times when you're worried sick, but you still have to deal with actual grown-up things in the meantime. So I ran into the Enterprise office, babbling about the situation, probably mostly incoherently. They glanced over the car and assured me that they'd take care of the paperwork, and I went back to the hospital. Maceo was feeling better. The doctor said she was just dehydrated and exhausted. They discharged her and we drove back to Enterprise. And again, I'm not being paid to say this, but they were great. They had the paperwork done and the car was ours for the next month, the rest of the trip. Unlike some other travel companies,
United Airlines,
Enterprise has always done right by me. Many thanks to everyone at the Cedar City Enterprise. And so, our plans. Well, instead of driving more, we canceled Bicknell and stayed in Cedar City one night. I found a local B&B called Bard's Inn, because on Booking.com it was highly rated and a bit more expensive than our usual places. I thought it would be a good, comfortable place to relax. And it was. It's run by Scott and Barbara, and when I ran into the lobby to again give a quick and confusing explanation, they said, yes, it's no problem, you can check in early. So we spent the day in a lovely room in a nice little inn on a quiet side street. It was just what we needed. The next day we were feeling better still, and after the perfect breakfast, we hit the road. But not where we were expecting. See, the plans this week had been to see 3 more national parks in southern Utah, Capitol Reef, Canyonlands, and Arches. I'd booked a complicated combination of motels and campsites. All of that is canceled, at least for now. For some of the things we got our money back, for some we didn't. So instead we headed north, up Interstate 15 with its billboards and boredom that shocked us after 10,000 miles of two-lane highways. We were headed to a town near Salt Lake City where a good friend of mine from high school lives. The most notable thing on the way up was our lunch at Burger King. Not the lunch itself, but this guy. What in the world is a seagull doing in the middle of Utah, hundreds of miles away from any ocean? We'll find out on day 66, although if you know your geography, the answer is probably obvious. As interstates go, I-15 wasn't that bad. Smooth and relaxing, which suited us. At first anyway. Salt Lake City was confounding. As I wrote in my official trip notes, why does everyone lose their minds on the interstate? My friend let us stay with her family for 3 nights. We rested and got to meet everyone, and the dogs, and the chickens. They went all out for us. Cookouts, beers, and trying to follow Maceo's careful instructions for exactly how to make coffee in the morning. And while there, we did drive to a nearby mall to get Maceo's iPhone fixed, and she got a case for it. Looking back, I think Maceo and I were a bit shell-shocked after everything, and we just kind of spent the 3 days mooching and disrupting the household. But the time off was just what we needed. Thanks for everything, Sandra. You saved the road trip, and you guys are welcome at my place anytime. Tomorrow, we're back on the road to begin what I consider the 3rd phase of the trip. Our first big stop is at the only national park in Nevada, Great Basin. It's stuck out in the middle of nowhere, an explosion of biodiversity and another of America's unique and compelling corners.